that means he intended to fuck over and manipulate the market.
So I want to disagree here. If his intent was trying to create the art of the deal, air quotes, whatever, of getting these tariffs brought down, he's not directly correlating his intention of doing that to how the market is going to respond, because he doesn't actually have the control of that. Yes, one could
What?
say
Yes,
that
he does.
Bingo.
Yes, he
What?
does. He
That
has
was
control of the
not.
market. And every
Ugh.
president knows that he has control of the market. Every president knows every single word that is
Yes, don't
said
you
or
know that he's
tweeted.
fucking full of
He
shit,
has full
bitch?
control of the market.
Bro, if he had control of the market, people wouldn't have pulled that from their like. What are you talking about? Like
What do you mean?
that's.
How do you
What are
think
you
the federal
talking
government
about?
bailed out all the
Oh
banks
my
in
god! I'm
2008?
not talking
Y'all
about
do not
2008. I'm talking
understand
about.
like
I'm not talking. No, I'm
basic.
not talking. No, I do understand basic thing. I'm saying to you that had he had control of the market, they would have listened to him when he told them not to lose confidence in the American fucking. Like, what are you talking about? He knew what he
What are
was
you
doing because
talking
he.
about?
I don't know if you understand basic fucking English, but what I'm saying to you is, had he
You are so
had
condescending,
he
and like
had
I don't know why anyone
I
doesn't
am
call it out because people
I am
complain about me being condescending, and
I am,
you
which
just.
is real
I think
real
it's the
real
British. I think it's the British
real
accent.
real recognizes real. I love you to bits, Khaleesi. But the fact of the matter is, again, it's this idea that that he planned it is being a preposterous idea. Of course he planned it. He's been saying it for the past 40, 30 years that we're talking about. Like he's been telling you exactly what it is that he believes that China's been doing and the rest of the world has been doing.
Yes, but he did not
This is
plan for the
obvious.
market to go south.
How do you know that?
And
So it,
which government is going to plan to kill your stock market, to lose so much money, to take a gamble, and you're still not sure that
I
the market is going to bounce back, and you have to do tests, send out a fake tweet, set it up to see how the market would operate, and when it worked, have what's his name of the lady who came into the what's her the communications lady who comes out every day. I can't remember her name right now. I was calling it all day. Oh my God. Comes out and say, we
Caroline.
tomorrow,
the press
Caroline,
secretary.
just Caroline Levitt or something like that. We tomorrow I have some good news for you. She even knew from yesterday that this was going to happen, but they were going to announce it today. The fake tweet that went out was a test. It worked. Then they went in and implement, because if he knew the market was going to tank like that, he would not have done what he did. And he did not even withdraw on his own. He had to have people goading him to do it, withdraw. Elon Musk and the other people going down there, and all the senators and all the governors going, you can't be doing this, you can't be. They have been telling him for weeks, right? He doesn't have any plan at all. Even the tariffs in Canada, there was not a plan, because in the beginning it was because of fentanyl. Then he stopped talking about fentanyl. Then he wanted to annex Canada. Then he had the conversation with Mark Carney, and then he stopped talking about annexing Canada. He had no plan. This man is just throwing spaghetti up against the wall, and half of you cannot see it. But you're not going to see it because you are just like the empire who has no clothes on. You look at yourself and think you have clothes on, just like Mr. Trump is doing. He did it the first go around, and he's doing it again.
That's
What
not
the
how
hell? He did it the first
that's not
time
what
when
that
he
story
was
means.
in a president. He was doing the same thing, but not to the same magnitude. And he's
That
doing it again. I land.
that's not what that story means. That's not what
Yes,
it
keep
means.
it going, Auntie Yvonne, all
So that's not
day,
No,
what that
that's not
night.
means.
what that
And
story.
your mic is
That's not
clear.
what that means, man.
Here,
Okay.
here.
The emperor without no without clothes?
Trump's got clothes on.
He has no damn
That is
clothes on.
100.
He looks at himself and thinks he's a king.
I don't know what I don't know. Maybe, but again, you're missing the forest for the trees. Like you're not. You guys are filled with such anti-Trump
But
rhetoric that you don't
listen,
hear
listen,
when
I
he
have
says
no reason to even be anti-Trump. If he didn't get into other people's business, nobody would be getting into his damn business.
he's the
Why doesn't
president
he?
of the fucking United States.
Well,
The
he's a
world is
president.
his
No, he's
business.
more than the president of the United States. Because if he freaking cough, everybody else gets it, and that's what you
But
don't
then there you
understand. But
go.
you wouldn't
Everybody
understand
else's
that because you
business.
left England and gone hiding out in Africa.
What are you talking about, woman?
Damn.
But
What does that
also,
even mean?
didn't
You're
he
a Canadian.
impose
What does
Damn.
that
tariffs?
mean?
So
Very
anyway,
confused.
I think it
One
is
second,
like,
1 second. Hold
no,
on.
Augustus,
I'm.
you've
Wait,
been
one
hogging
second.
the
One second.
Hold
airtime.
on,
One
Khaleesi. Let
second.
Augustus
I'm
finish because he,
African.
he didn't get to. So let Augustus finish and then we'll
I'm.
go to Khaleesi.
Wait. That doesn't make any sense, Miss Canada, motherfucker. I'm African. Like, what are we
Easy.
talking about?
Are you gonna
Like,
disrespect
Hey,
old
don't
lady?
curse,
like,
don't
Let
like,
curse
Khaleesi.
auntie out like that, fam.
like.
That
What
was
are we
weird.
saying? I'm not. I'm
That's
not hiding out in
disrespectful. Watch
Africa.
your elders.
You talking about women? Like hiding
Don't
out in
talk to
Africa?
And
women
a
like that.
woman,
That's
like,
what we're
what are
talking
you
about.
Disrespectful. My
doing?
moving
Go ahead,
blood
Andy.
clot.
Nah, man, you're disrespectful, Auntie Yvonne. I thought you had love. I thought we had love for each other. Hiding out in Africa. I'm from this place, woman. Like, don't ever disrespect Africans, man.
Can I
Never
jump
mind
in
the
here?
sister.
Could I jump in here and
Well,
just
you
ask
can,
that we
Alex.
could all
I,
agree?
I, I promised the mic to Khaleesi and then we'll go over to you. Go ahead, Khaleesi. Thank you.
Um, yeah, I just want to echo everything Auntie Yvonne said. It's so weird that we're like having a conversation, and the arguments that are being posed are that Trump intentionally tanked the market, or that Trump knew this was going to happen all along and he did it and he has a plan. Both of which sound highly illegal to me and completely reckless and completely like disregarding of the American people and all of the others that will be impacted by this plan or decision. Like I don't get what conversation is being had right now. Like the mental gymnastics is it's overwhelming. That's all.
Alexander?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the room specifically to like the Trump supporters. Can we just agree that this was in fact market manipulation? Can we agree to that?
Nope.
No,
No,
Not
you don't think it
happening.
was market
No.
manipulation?
If it was
That's
market
crazy.
manipulation, did he
No.
make money off of it?
yes.
But yeah, he probably did. For all we know, probably
Absolutely.
like I thought his billionaire buddies probably just buy the dip and probably just tipped them off with that.
That's
That's
correct.
what we saw.
That's
And
correct.
you guys are just trying to paint this out like it's not a big shit, but it is. You start to lose the integrity of the markets like that if it's just going to be pumped and dumped whenever the fuck it wants to.
Literally did Donald Trump make money off the tariffs? It will tell you he did.
Still
Did you
no?
not? Didn't you not
tariffs are
hear
different than
me
the market.
say one of his
Thank you.
Oh my
friends?
fucking
And
god.
They're
Didn't
both
he just didn't
deeply
he just
connected.
go
Are you fucking kidding me?
didn't he go on the record and say we making so much money off the tariffs? What was he talking about?
No, he is making money off the tariffs. But the tariffs are different than the stock market.
But how did he make
What
money off
is
the
going
tariffs? Wait,
on?
how did they make money off the tariffs? Because he said we making so much money off the tariffs. How did he make
Yeah, he
money off
was
of it?
he was basically saying it's going to replace the income tax in America. He's saying he's going back to President McKinley in 1896, whatever it was, and he was saying that they had so much money back then that he being Trump saying that we're going to replace the corporate. And in fact, it's a doubling of the corporate income tax, is what I heard.
Oh my
And
God.
so,
You know when McKinley was president?
yeah, 1896, something like that. Something.
But he
Yep.
didn't sound like he was talking in the future. He said we're
No.
making so much money off the
Yeah.
tariffs. That's
Yeah.
what he said.
What he's saying is that it's a way of making revenue from other countries who have been disrespecting America. That's his view. I'm not.
No, no,
I'm
no.
not
What
trying
Okay,
to
he's
put
I
any words in
saying
his
is
mouth.
what
listen.
he said.
I
Stop
watched him
trying to
yesterday,
make what he
Khaleesi.
said better.
You see, he said today we are saving $2 billion a day. Now, for those who worship him will think he's really saving $2 billion a day. The revenues from the tariffs have not even come in yet. So he's using whatever he's projecting, and then the people are saying, "Oh yeah, we're saving $2 billion a day." He actually opened his mouth because you guys are working while I'm watching it, and he said it today. We are making $2 billion a day. Get out of here, people. What the hell are you talking about? This
I
That
think
could
you
be
man
ought
from
will
Doge.
I
That
think
could
say
y'all
be
I think
from
y'all
Doge.
ought to back up
anything
what you just
and
said.
then you listen and believe. You're not making 2 billion a day yet. You don't know how much you're gonna make. The tariffs have not even they just gone into effect. Some were just done today. They do not know yet how much they are going to make. They haven't started making it yet. But that's the narrative he's giving everybody to say, oh yeah, we're making a lot of money. And he's going to, oh, are you all going to get your $5,000?
So
Yeah,
I,
Yvonne, I think that's he's talking about Doge. He's saying we're saving $2 billion a
I
day
don't
it was
in
that's
understand
about
Doge.
no, it
why
was
he
about the
keeps
tariffs. It was about the
saying,
tariffs.
like, can you please not like try to re-say what has already been said? Because he said it with his own mouth.
He said
I'm
it today. We
he
are making it
exactly.
from the tariffs.
He said it.
So
Why are we trying to rewrite history?
I'm going to agree with you
So the
both.
tariffs that kicked in at midnight last night, he's saying he makes $2 billion a day.
He said
That
that
doesn't seem to
today.
make
I
sense.
watched him today, and that's what he said. And that is why I
They
was
are right.
commenting all day today. He said it today. You guys were working and watching your money because your money is going down. I don't have nothing in the market. I don't have to worry about that, but I have to watch what's going on because I love the politics. I love what's going on. So I was watching him today.
Most Americans don't have money in the market, though, to be honest.
It's true. Sadly,
We're
you're
Yeah,
right.
panicked about the
50%,
difference.
some of
We're
that.
panicked
Yeah.
about the
But
difference.
what about these 401ks and
This is this
403bs and
is
all that?
this is to my point I
They
was
aren't
making
invested in
before.
the
Like
same
people
way.
that
They're
are
invested
losing
differently.
money are the people that the left are so called rallying against, the millionaires and the billionaires. I'm not
Bruh.
understanding that
Do
race.
y'all not know what a 401k is? Are we okay? We're not
No,
okay.
I know what that is. I know what that is.
64% of Americans have some sort of money in the stock market vis-a-vis their 401k or their IRA.
Yeah, that sounds right.
64% of Americans. Period. End of story. It's a fact.
That sounds right. I was thinking it was 50, but it's about
Um,
64.
but,
Yeah.
but how many Americans? What's the percentage that are actively in the market versus letting their
No, but
401k sit
Again,
there?
yes, but letting your 401k.
if your company's matching your 401k and they're putting in a fund and you get a statement, you're in the market. And
I'm
then there
I'm
are
not
people
talking about being.
and then there are
I'm
people
saying
like in the market
actively
like
in the
me.
market that care. Like most Americans aren't following the market in that way.
No,
Yeah, but that doesn't
How many
matter because it
states?
still impacts their 401k. It still
I
impacts
exactly.
didn't.
their
I
money.
never said it didn't impact it. What I said was they are not active in the market.
I'm
That's what
saying
I
we are
said.
active. I'm saying that we are active in the market. If every check they're taking a percentage of our check and putting it in the market, and then the company is
Jesus, like
matching it.
No, sir.
What
That's not how it
do you
let
mean,
her
no,
works.
finish.
You
sir?
got to
No,
She
sir.
said what
understand
she
that.
said,
How are we
not
not
what you
actively in the
want
It's
her
it's
market?
to
it's
say.
in the
She's
funds.
talking
You
about
got it. You
traders.
got it.
Traders.
Thank you, Sir Jude, because Lord
Understand
have
what you're
mercy.
saying with traders. I'm just saying that
You got it.
it
You
is
understand where the
impacting us
money's
if our
invested?
paychecks are being invested in the market. It's impacting us.
Most Americans don't even know what Dow Jones is.
Oh my God,
They
this
think
is
that's
so
somebody's uncle.
bizarre. Chat,
We don't
if
have to know that.
chat,
We
if
don't.
Yes,
your
little
bank
sis.
account
Yes, my
says
beautiful little sister.
if you
God,
But
they're so
expect,
funny.
but
They
chat,
think
if
Dow
you
Jones is
expect
their
your bank
uncle.
account to have a certain amount of money in it, and then all of a sudden someone does some dumb shit, and now your bank account is half of what you expected it to be, that is what having a 401k in the market
no,
is like.
I get
So
it. I
they might
had
not
two
check the
parents
Dow every day.
that went into retirement. So this year, both my
Before we,
parents went into
oh,
retirement. I'm saying I'm talking about actively trading. People, I'm not saying people it doesn't affect them. That's not what I'm saying. But let's be clear. When Trump was saying the market is doing good, that this last term, y'all said, Democrats said, oh well, that has nothing to do with the American people. It doesn't affect the American people. That's Wall Street. It's different. Now Wall Street matters this much? Like which one is it?
What are you
Well,
Well,
talking
that's what I'm
about?
saying.
the
If
experts
you
have been
don't know, then
saying
you
for
should
Wall
probably
years.
Street,
mute up.
Wall Street always matters to
I
to the
never
poorest person
said
who
it
has money in the
didn't.
market.
You obviously didn't hear what I said.
For 2 years. For 2 years,
I
the
said
experts
in
have
his
said we need to
last
correct.
term, because I don't know if you were on here, Jotham. So I don't know. You may not have
Maybe
a
I
frame
stepped
of
away.
reference.
Maybe I stepped away. Sorry.
You,
Say it
no, no, no,
again.
no. I'm talking. You stepped away 2 years ago,
Never
four
said
years,
Step
6 years
no,
ago.
maybe I stepped away in the conversation while you were saying. So say it again so I could understand it.
I was saying that Democrats were saying in Trump's last term that the market didn't matter, that the average American doesn't care about that. They care about the unemployment rate and other things. Now the stock market matters. And my question was, which one is it? Does it matter or doesn't it? Does it only matter to paint your narrative or what?
So
I'm saying
so to answer
that's like
so to
really
answer
being
that question,
disingenuous right there when you say that.
so to answer that question, 2 years ago when they were talking
No,
about
I said
un
Trump's last term, honey.
okay,
Trump's last
so
term.
so to answer that. Last term, when they were talking about unemployment, is because unemployment was the issue then. So now we're talking about their money falling because it's the issue now.
No, no,
It's
you're missing the point, but that's okay. I get it.
no,
Here,
we you have to speak on the issue that is in
I
front of
I
you.
am.
So
That's
that's
what
if so
you're
if so
missing.
so if
Oh
the
God.
issue at the time was unemployment because of
Yo.
COVID, we're going to talk about it. So now that is the issue in front of us is because our 401k is going down. We're going to talk about it.
All right. Thank you for the submission, man. Cheers, buddy.
Bro, but you don't withdraw your 401k every other day, right? So you're gonna like retire and then take the money. So why does it matter what's gonna happen like 15 years from now when you're gonna retire?
Are you
Oh,
Stop
because
kidding
crying.
me?
you're Ravi, you're saying that because you're young and got a lot, what, 30, 40 years ahead of you. Say that to
So,
somebody who
so,
is 50,
Do
60,
you understand?
who only
But
got
do
so,
you
so,
five,
so,
understand?
6 years ahead of
Okay, so
them.
let's.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
so,
even
crazy.
5 years. Okay, Jotham, like you are a financial person, right? Even 5 or 6 or 10 years, or even if they're retiring today, you don't withdraw the whole 401k. You
No,
take
you
a
don't.
paycheck from it. So even if it goes down 10% today, you're not taking all the money, man. Come on now.
Let me ask you. So here in Georgia, I mean currently in Atlanta, Georgia, and the school bus system in Atlanta, Georgia, do not have Social Security. Do not have Social Security, so that they depend on a 403b, and majority of them don't make enough money to make that look good in retirement. So when you have a 65-year-old lady who's driving a bus for 30 years and her retirement is 200,000 and then drop to 150, what do you tell her that doesn't have Social Security to back up the 150? What do you tell her?
Right,
What do you
Jotham.
tell the other 100,000 bus drivers who are looking at the same thing?
Have you seen what
Sir,
the market is
even
now
if it
versus two
goes
years
down for
ago?
a year, it's going to come back up after 5 years, right? Like, so if you're not withdrawing the
What
whole
is
thing,
going on? This is
There was a
such
Sir,
a
bigger
sir,
drop 2 years
if
ago.
an
Nobody
account
said
goes
that you
down
can't.
150 in 3 days, it's going to take, as you say, at least 5 years to bring it back from 150 to 200.
No.
Yes, you're correct. If the market does what is has been doing for the last 5 years, it's going to take at least 5 years to bring it back. And you're correct with that. So if somebody's looking to go into retirement in a year or 2 or 3 years, then that means they have to.
It's not just 5 years. It's historically gone up. You can look at it
thank
in
you.
5 year
Thank you, Andy.
segments, but it's historically gone up. And that's how you make money in the stock market, by by buying stock and leaving it
right.
in there, and pay like I just don't get on this. I don't understand. In
We're not
2000
talking
was it
about
in
stocks, Andy.
2008, the
We're
market
not
went
talking
down
about stocks.
40%. It went down
We're talking.
40% during the mortgage crisis in 2008. 40%. This was a
And how,
10% correction. It's a market. It fluctuates. If you don't
Jesus,
panic, you
let him
still
go,
have
bro.
the same amount of stock as you had before the panic, before the
okay,
downslide, and
okay.
yeah, and it will go up. It doesn't go up. It will go up. If you don't feel like it's a safe investment, my suggestion to you would be taking money out of the stock market. You could put
And
it in
Andy,
cash. You could put it in
Be
Bingo.
CDs.
God, John Ham. Let him finish.
I
Andy,
mean, I don't understand this crying. I
it's
really
not
don't.
crying,
It
Andy.
is crying.
It's a market. A
It's
market
not
is
crying.
volatile.
If it's
It
an
is crying when
institutional,
you don't
You open up
understand
a
the concept.
401k, it's not
Man,
guaranteed
I've
to go
missed
up
Andy, bro.
every minute, every day.
That's bullshit.
And I don't
it,
understand.
Andy,
Trump was
Andy, I should
playing
get.
with the tariffs. And the market reacted and responded to that. One thing has nothing to do with the other. I
Yes, it
didn't respond.
does.
I
Okay,
didn't react. I
weird.
didn't
People
sell
are
anything.
hold
advocating to
on.
be poor now.
Can I?
What the fuck is going on? There are people literally advocating to be poor, advocating to allow Trump and his billionaire buddies to create
Oh my
Exactly.
tariffs.
God.
I love
What
that
is going
Andy,
shit.
No,
on?
that's
BS,
facts. There you
Andy.
go.
You're gonna call BS on what you just said
Billionaires on
because
the
you have
left
institutional.
holding money,
For
and we want to
instance,
act like that shit ain't
Vanguard.
real.
If you have a Vanguard account, which is a 403b, they only give you 2 to 3 options, and you can't pull it out and give it to a broker.
How many times a year do we have a
And
correction?
if you don't know that, I'm telling you
How many
that.
times a year is there a
So if
correction?
you're in the system, then that's what you're locked in with 2 and 3 options.
How many times
So
a
what are
year
you
are we
gonna
supposed to
do?
have a
He's
correction?
just
Come
flexing,
on.
bro. He's just flexing, bruv.
But why are
You're not
If
we
getting
I
it.
attaching
if
it? Why are
if
we
I
Well,
have
attaching
my
so much
hard earned money and
sentimental
I
value
put it
to
hey,
that?
away and I work hard for it and it's gonna take me friggin' 5 years to come back,
ev-
I'm thinking about it. I'm worried about it. And
Yeah,
some
but
people,
you don't have to
Exactly.
invest it.
make it sound too flippant for me. I know somebody, and it's not only institutional, it's not only bundles like that, like a composite. Sometimes when these markets go down, if you had an oil stock or something like that, that stock could go. I know somebody who bought an oil stock in 2008 and the damn thing is still underwater. 2008 to now is how long? Damn thing, he spent $40,000 on the stock, and the stock it hasn't even priced itself back 10,000, not even. I think it's less than that right now. The value of the stock,
Yeah,
the damn
yeah,
thing's
really?
still underwater, and he just leaves it
yeah.
there. But
It's
how long
this.
is he going to leave it there before he pulls it out?
So it's the second time I've heard you say that. And let's be real. If you bought a stock in 2008 and it's still underwater, they bought a bad stock.
Still,
Simple
Hey,
as
What
that.
oh
man.
about
my
stock?
god!
Well,
Bad stock, bro.
maybe somebody bought a bad stock, but what I'm saying, you guys make it look, not everybody is very educated about buying stock or whatever, but you
But
guys are
don't buy
making it look
stocks.
like,
No one's
don't
forcing.
shout at me.
That's the point
Stop
I agree
shouting.
on.
What are you shouting at me for?
It
That's the
What
is
the
point.
fuck?
weird.
Why are you shouting
Can
at
you
me?
please stop shouting at her? Like it
Why
is
I'm
you
not
shout? Why,
shouting
why
at
is he so
Auntie. I'm
emotional? Why
Auntie
are the
Yvonne.
men? Why are the men when they come to
I'm
these
not
rooms
shouting
now?
at you.
They
I don't
always
know.
call
They
women
talk
I'm
over
not
emotional.
shouting at
people
you.
and they
Why?
just act
I'm
Why?
not
like
Why
they
are
shouting.
they
know
so
I
I'm
everything.
emotional?
shouting at
buy
the
buy
people who are
Weird.
all
stocks.
talking at the
Let's, you
same
guys,
time.
listen. Let's give the mic back.
Why are they so emotional?
Yeah, let's give the mic
I'm
back.
I'm
not
not
even talking
emotional.
loud because my
Give the
husband is
mic back
downstairs,
over
so I
to
cannot shout.
Yvonne. Yvonne, let's give the
Shout out
mic
to your
back
white husband.
to Yvonne. But when we give it to Yvonne, we're just going to listen to Yvonne and then Augustus, you can go ahead and respond. And that way we can hear everyone. Thanks so much. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Yes, thank you, Daphne. I'm gonna land right now, but I'm just saying it's not everybody. People are looking at, oh, I would do this and I would do that because oh, I'm a day trader or I'm this or I'm that. But you can't look at it like that because everybody is not like you. And if somebody manipulated the market and you lose your money and people are losing their money, you gotta be more empathetic to people who are losing their money. They lose their money. If you lose your money, if your money goes down and you have it sitting somewhere for 5 years and you look at it and you still, it's not moving because the portfolio is still underwater, then you have to still it is a concern, and the way people blow it off in this room as if it's not a concern, because like Clubhouse, everybody is a millionaire, billionaire. They have so many millions that it doesn't matter when somebody loses a 50,000 or 100. There are people who don't have that kind of money to lose. So the way you guys argument, sometimes it makes my heart, bleed for the people who are suffering, because you just make it look like there are not people out there who were planning on their money. They put it there, and they do not want the markets to be manipulated by the whim. They want to have more confidence in the market. I'm going to land right there.
Yeah, and I'd like to go ahead and add an additional point here, which is that yes, I understand the argument, right? I get it that markets do go up. But, something a lot of people are missing here is when we have these downward corrections, we lose years. We literally lose years, entire years or
Correct.
multiple years of progress. And so if you're looking at something like, famously, Japan had a period called the lost decade because the Nikkei collapsed and they lost literally 10 years of basically economic progress, right, from a collapse here, right? So we've bounced back faster. We've lost a few years here, a few years there. But here's the problem I have. When the argument is made that this entire thing was planned out ahead of time and part of some sort of grand strategy, well, that was a really terrible strategy. You couldn't figure out a strategy to maybe achieve these goals with less of an impact, because ultimately, if we have a serious prolonged dip, it takes time. And so, yes, the markets will go up eventually. But something you need to understand is you're never going to get that time back. And so you will actually still have less money at retirement. than the potential. Now, most of our downturns are not caused by the direct actions of individuals. They're caused by, say, mispricing an entire class of assets and then people participating in very, very high risk lending on properties, or they're caused by a global plague, all right? Obviously, people cannot necessarily affect some of these things directly. But in this particular case, the argument's being made that a single man made a plan and this is the brilliant effect of it. And so, I mean, if that's the argument you're going to make, then I want you to know that it damaged markets and cost people actual money. I
The
land.
S
So,
the S&P
Well,
so
like in
500 had the biggest day since
2008, like what happened,
2008.
right? The banks
We have
did the
we have
same
a
thing.
pullback every
So
173 days, and that stems back to 1929. We know every 173 days we need a correction. We have had experts saying for 2 years we need a correction. They have been
20
stating it all
years.
across the board, right? And guess what? We finally are seeing something happen. We're seeing somebody. We had the left saying we should do this exact same thing. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, everybody in power, the presidents saying we needed to do this. Now we're doing it. The markets react a little bit, but you know what? The world saw their markets get affected too, because we're still the number one consuming economy in the world. So we have an impact. Now we can say what we want,
Bingo.
but we saw a pause in these tariffs. And you can go ahead and try to negotiate with a vast number of countries one at a time and imposing one tariff at a time. Or you do this, and now he's got a backlog of people wanting to talk. And now we have influence because guess what? India is directly taking on China for manufacturing. And guess what? They can do it. They're damn good at it. And they can do it cheap, just like China. So now China has another competitor they have to worry about. If China wants to start playing hardball, India has got a big gain, a big advantage. And so now what we've done is completely pulled a group of people to say, wait, we're still with you, America. And now we can disagree, we can agree on how it all was done and played. But the fact was is this stuff is starting to work. And now we just had the S&P have the biggest day since 2008. So these drops, they come back quick. Okay? You make money when you buy on the low. You don't lose a damn thing if you don't sell. We've seen this all before. People who are in Bitcoin have watched it go down
Bingo.
before
Spoken
they
like
quit.
someone who doesn't understand what a bond is, my friend. Now, let me
100%.
tell you this, buddy. Let me
Uh,
just tell you this.
Oh my gosh, Skull.
Oh,
So, basically,
Jesus
last
Christ.
night, the bond yields were rocketing at such a high amount that had that continued, the United States of America would have been in a default situation when the $9.4 trillion dollars in credit are set to renew between now and that date. So, this forced Donald Trump's hand, my friend. This forced it. He was woken up in the middle of the night. He even said that in a quote today, even. He said, people woke me up in the night and they were queasy about the bond market. They were queasy for a reason because this was disastrous. And now he did change course, right? He did do that. And ultimately, the bid to cover ratio was actually very good on the bonds, and the bond markets are now once again under control, and some stability has been added to the market, at least temporarily. Hopefully, he doesn't change his mind 3, 4, 5 times like he did on the freaking Canadian and Mexican tariffs, because that will drive this thing off a cliff. But listen, his hand was forced on this, and you're saying, "Oh, it's now all over. It's all great." No, it is not. Now we have to fight a brutal trade war with China. There will be more downward movement as we fight this trade war, and we will win it. And when we beat China, we will ensure American hegemonic economic dominance for the next century. It will ultimately be great. We will ultimately be the biggest shit in the pool. We really will be, because we're going to kick China's fucking ass. But it's
Hey,
going to hurt while we're doing that. And that's it. I land.
hey,
Thank
And
Skull.
so,
Could I
but
Hey,
interject
Skull.
here,
that's the point.
Daphne?
Well done to you,
Daphne?
Wait,
Nat,
wait,
because
wait,
he's
wait. Let's
actually
hear
said
from
some
Butternut.
things.
She
Thank you.
hasn't spoke all night. Go ahead, Butternut, and then we'll go to you,
Hey
Augustus.
guys. Yeah, one thing that I think it impacts us more closely is like people like me who had a projected date to retire in a few years may have to extend that date out, which means I'm not going to retire and that job is going to be filled by me until I'm ready to leave. So, to Chad's point, the person under me that's waiting for me to retire is going to have to wait a little bit longer. And that's important. That's important to most people who are in their 40s and 50s and are trying to get into upper management or whatever. For those other folks that are my age to retire. Well, I can't retire when I'm losing money. So that's a big deal.
I just wanted to say, if I've been a bit of an a hole today, I do apologise. Yeah, I've been a bit of a bastard, but I just don't tolerate disrespect, and I don't like it, so I just give it back as good as I get it. But yeah, Auntie Yvonne, you are, even though we've been at war since the beginning of time, and then made up. I thought we were cool. I'd like to remain cool. I don't have anything against you. And have a great evening, Khaleesi. I love you long time, even though we are violently violently juxtaposing our positions. Shout out to you, Define. It's great to see your face, actually. And everybody else, enjoy the space, man. Big up to you guys listening in at home. If you're not if you haven't downloaded the app, download the app. Chatter, social, be a part of these conversations. They go crazy, but we have to remember to keep our heads. Anyway, guys, take care. Enjoy.
Thanks, Augustus. All right, guys, listen, let's get back into it. That is not the end of the conversation. We have been talking all night about these tariffs and what's going on with Trump's decision today. And I don't want to take this pause as any stop in the conversation. So let's keep it going. Who wants to jump in next?
Daphne, we haven't heard your perspective on this so far.
Yeah, no, and that was purposeful. Do you want to weigh in here, Robbie?
I already did. I was just curious.
Can I
Yo,
ask a question? Somebody answer the question. Do you think or believe that Mr. Netanyahu came to talk about trade deficits?
No, why not? Why would Netanyahu come to talk about trade deficit before Trump even released his tariffs? Israel has already declared relaxed their tariffs against America. Netanyahu is not worried about. He's not worried about American tariff because
I can
he
hear him.
has a very he has a very strong.
What is that? Thank
Say
you.
that again.
Somebody was shaving. It's better.
Oh, he has a very strong lobbying group here. If Netanyahu is coming to America to discuss anything with Trump in camera, it was most likely has to be with the security of his region. The Palestinian deal, he has a lot to discuss. The Palestinian deal, he has the Iranian moves and the Yemen rebels. So there's a lot on his plate. But let me go back to this tariff. There was a gentleman that just spoke something about United States being a hegemony economically. Um, I just cannot disagree more with that. In as much as I want America to dominate, to continue to dominate, but unfortunately, and if truth needs to be told, America has lost their edge in the economics of the world. And they did that unwittingly. And this is why you're seeing all the rattle that is going on, okay? China has taken over, and China copied from American experience. And China is playing American game better than the Americans. America become the world power through trade. America dominated in trade, in export, and through tariffs, dominated the whole world. But what happened is after the collapse of Soviet Union, America became the bipolar power, and we got carried away because we were financing Europe through the Marshall Plans. We were busy hedging the Soviet Union. After the Soviet Union collapsed, there was no other power in the whole world. China was coming into the World Trade Organization, focusing on trade. America used that dominant, that um, hegemony that we have in the West, and that bipolar power domination that we had. We started fighting wars, and we got carried away. And because of those wars that we were fighting, China took over economically, and we even encouraged our industries to go to China because we focused on war. So right now, sir, um, if you can tell me any product that America can manufacture that China cannot manufacture cheaper. Not one product. The only product that America has um, can do better is all only military hardware. That's it. And that's why you're focused on, right? So while you're focusing on military power, China has taken that advantage to dominate economically. And they are winning hearts and minds in all the areas of the world, even all the way to at your backyard here in Mexico. They've dominated Africa. They are dominating Southeast Asia. Okay, they have dominated the Pacific region. Look at what Trump just did the other day. Our allies, Japan and South Korea, that we have military bases on to guard against China. Trump just chased these people right into China's embrace. While your military is there, the people are already getting won over by China through economics. So this is the danger that you have. So let's get our head off the sand, thinking that America is dominating economically. I support Trump to go over China because they go after China because they are not playing fair. But there is no way America is going to succeed. Mark my word, America is not going to succeed without the help of your allies. Because what has happened, China has gained so much ground and they have covered so much territory that America does not have that economic prowess anymore in order to go toe to toe with China, especially without your allies. So you're beating a dead horse here. So if anybody is trying to convince you that the industries are coming back, which industry is coming back? What are you going to manufacture in America that China cannot do cheaper? They have the best vehicles, EV vehicles, in the whole world. If China's vehicles comes into America, nobody is going to even touch American cars, to be quite honest with you. But we are blocking them because they are better. Everything that they're manufacturing top notch. So where are you going to compete? I land.
Okay, I hear you.
I I
I
do understand
Have
what
you
you're
ever thought of
saying.
moving there, Sir Jude? Maybe you might want to move there. It sounds like you like it so much.
Say that again.
like that.
Yeah,
I
that's a
didn't
little
hear that.
passive aggressive, but I'm here for it. It is debate the news.
Who
No,
buys
I mean,
more than Americans buy? Who in the
no
world
one.
buy? Okay, thank you. I yield.
Indians.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, but at the same time, when you listen to what Jude is saying, um, America used to have a lot of influence when you go through the Caribbean, South America, Europe, and it is fading because China is buying out a lot of the Caribbean islands, like total domination, buying out land upon land upon land. I mean, I was just reading an article where I think it's Minnesota governor is reclaiming land from China, and Florida Governor DeSantis also is trying to do the same thing to take back the land
Eminent
from
domain,
China.
baby.
And that's what I'm saying. So, and in the Caribbean, South America, Central America, China is using soft economics and tearing up the Caribbean, Central America, South America, and even Africa, just going through and tearing up. And they're using
Listen,
soft economics to win this war.
listen.
Yeah,
Let me
so
let me
it's two
explain to
different
you
efforts
why
going on
China's
right
doing
now.
it wrong,
They're
and
doing
I'm gonna explain to you guys why China's doing it wrong. And after I explain this, I think even Sir Jude will be like, "Wow, you're right, and you're also a terrible person." But I'm going to explain to you, and that's fair. That's fair. Once you hear my point, you're going to think that. But let me explain to you why they're doing it wrong. So here's what China did. They looked at Africa and they looked at their other partners and they had this Belt and Road Initiative. And they thought, wow, the way that the West invests in people and cultivates self economic power is by investing in countries. So we're going to do that. And so we're going to go into these countries and we're going to build them ports and we're going to build them roads and we're going to improve their infrastructure and we're going to do all of this stuff, right? And now a lot of these nations are underwater on these deals and they're having to give those properties back to these Chinese holding companies. However, they still have the resources, and China's like, well, the only way to really get a payback is to let them use it anyway, even though they're not really paying us back on time. Now, let me tell you how America used to do it. Let me tell you how we used to do it. We used to go into these countries and we would say, hey, we're going to make a deal. We're going to invest in you. And then what we would do is we would pave like one road in the middle of freaking nowhere. And then we would funnel a whole bunch of money to the elites in that country. And we'd build nice apartment complexes for them and their friends, throw a Starbucks in that thing. And then the entire upper political class of whatever country that was personally indebted to us. They had got those favors. They received no benefit or actually infrastructure hardware to improve their country, and we shackled them to a debt through the International Monetary Fund and other similar instruments that would keep them in a position of coming back to us again and
And
again.
then we would take them
So
over. Then we would take them over.
the mistake that China has made here is they actually invested in these countries and gave them stuff that was useful instead of doing the American way of cultivating soft power, which is a little more devious. And I'm going to go ahead and land there.
Yeah,
So
hey
let
Skull.
me.
The reason why
I
they
agree.
did Skull, the reason why that was done is because on the onset, China does not appear to be wanting to colonize through soft power. They rather have some indebtedness so they can have access to those resources that they need. They have a very huge rare earth minerals situation happening in Asia right now that's all used for China. But the continent of Africa, many countries, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, um, several countries that have broken away from that colonized mindset. But then there's still other ones like what's taking place in not Equatorial Guinea, that too, but was taking place in Kinshasa and Brazzaville, in Congo, with coltan and nickel, and there's a variety of hustling colonizers that are European that are still on the continent of Africa, ingrained in making sure that the political class is subservient to the needs. So that's been going on not just since that's been going on since the 50s. I mean, yeah, basically since the Berlin
Yeah.
Conference. Go research the
But
Berlin Conference for anyone that doesn't
Yeah,
know.
look at
but
Skull.
but but
Skull,
Ty,
let me explain something to you, Skull. Your position is that China is doing it wrongly. No, China is doing it better than the West. Okay, because what China is doing to Africa and some of these developing countries is they're giving them alternatives. Okay, and once they see that alternative, they prefer China's alternative because China has more to offer. I mean, they are both not altar boys, but when it comes to
Are you
West
a
and China,
communist? Are you a communist?
I think so.
let
I
me
think
finish,
it
please.
sounds like it, bro.
I am an academia. I look at
I'm an
things very
academic too,
objective.
but you sound like
And
a
okay, okay.
communist.
So listen then. So listen. When you hear where I'm coming
I
from,
hear where you're
okay.
coming from. It sounds like
Okay. So let me
communism.
don't interrupt me. Let me finish. You asked me a question. Am I a communist? I said no. I'm an academia, and I'm looking at
No,
things very
you're a
objectively.
communist.
And the things that can I finish, please? When I
Well,
finish, you
I
could
mean,
talk. When I finish, you could
when
talk.
you
I'm not
admit
a
you're a
communist.
communist, you
Okay.
can finish.
Okay.
He's not a communist. He's more like Chinube Achebe for the book.
Okay.
Go read the book Things Fall
Yeah.
Apart for those
Yeah.
who don't
So
know.
I'm talking from a perspective of somebody who has studied what I'm talking about and who had lived it and who has made policies regarding what I'm talking about. I'm talking from a place of knowledge. Okay? Because what the West did for hundreds of years was to exploit Africa. And once they give Africa loan, they just came to take. They don't replenish. Okay? They don't build nothing in Africa. They take the raw materials and they run. And the money that they give to Africa comes with conditions. They want you to show accountability and they want you to demonstrate human rights improvement. Those are the two conditions that they have. And at the same time, they don't show that. Okay? It's all hypocritical. China has the same experience with most of these developing countries because China was once colonized by the West. And China has a operating principle where they will not get involved in your internal political situation, which dubious African leaders, by the way, like, because they just want to get the money. They don't want to give accountability to nobody. They want to do with the money whatever that they want, which is wrong, but they love it. And that's why they're going to China. But China comes in, they invest in the infrastructure, they do something, and then they take something. The West doesn't do that. You understand? And thanks to the West, okay, because if it wasn't for the action of the West, China wouldn't have gone out looking for all these raw materials in all the nook and corners of the West, because China started doing that from 1979 when the Tiananmen Square incident happened and the West sanctions China. So they went now that forced China to look beyond the West and start going through all these developing countries and making bilateral agreements. And that's why China was able to dominate the way that they are dominating. Okay? So when it
Hey,
comes to those two alternatives, Africans and these developing countries they will follow China's leadership. So America need to wake up, okay? Because China started with a BRICS organization with only 5 countries. Now it's 22
God damn,
countries
are
and
you
counting.
still talking?
Okay, so let
Jesus
me finish.
Christ.
Let me
You're a
finish.
fucking
Okay.
communist.
Let me finish. Yes, okay, I'm
Let him
communist.
finish.
Yes, I'm communist. Thank you. Okay, so they have 22 countries now and counting with a total GMP of $47 trillion. America is only mere $18 trillion. So America better wake up and realize that there is a new kingdom block that you really have to change your ways if you want to compete, because American dominance is coming to an end, unregrettably. And I'm done.
But this is why
But
Trump is, and
Mr.
shout out to
Jude,
you, because that is actually that's true in that there's nothing false about what you said, right?
Mr. Jude,
Um, but
can I say something?
but
Can I respond to Mr.
one
Jude one
second. I'm
second?
just gonna end. Right, I'm gonna be quick. But this is exactly why before we started this room properly, I spoke to you about Thucydides's trap, and Trump recognizes that in order for China to not take over, he needs to do this and then turn the entirety of the world against China so as to have dominance again. Because under Trump, I think the world would be a little bit better. He's not perfect. He's not a perfect president, but he's for war. I'm sorry, he's not for war. He's for peace, apparently, right? If anything he says is true, right? But I think Africa has a better opportunity to establish itself. What we see what's happening in Senegal with their removal of the franc, what we're seeing with Burkina Faso, what we're seeing with Niger, I think it's inspiring, which is exactly why I'm here, by the way. I didn't run from England, okay? I came here to be a part of the revolution my dream for Africa, because I have a policy, Africa first. Shout out to you guys if you ever do some research on me.
Okay,
But this
great.
is what we need to see. This is what we need to see. This is what we need to see. So yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I can agree with you on something.
Can I respond to Mr. Jude? So, Mr. Jude, if America, if the West gave you $100 billion and said this is the money that I'm going to give you, and the leaders, the politicians, the leaders pocket half of that money or 3/3 of that money, then it's on you, because I gave you $100 billion to develop your country and you didn't do it. Now let's switch to the Chinese. The Chinese come in and they're going to not give you the money. We're going to build the roads, but we want something in return. And that's the problem with a lot of these countries. China and what's his name? Kai? Probably don't know. But any country China goes into has a colony of Chinese. Let me
I
say that
do.
again.
I do know this, sir.
Oh, you do know that? Okay, great. So every single country that
Like
China goes
Tibet. Like
into
Tibet.
has a colony, and the colony is growing fast. The colony grows very fast.
But it's not ruling the country. That's the difference. If you go all the way back to Lumumba and what was going on and what he did, what the CIA did for that,
Hmm.
for that, for those rare earth minerals, you can look at the 1973 Henry Kissinger Hold Accords. That was an NSA. It's been now released for a Freedom of Information Act. That their
Hmm.
plan has been since the Berlin Conference to make sure that the continent of Africa and the Middle East is destabilized consistently so they can always have access. The West can always have access to the rare earth minerals or the raw materials. It's been look what took look. I mean, look at South Africa. I mean, all the diamonds that are pulled that's pulled out of there. That's in Antwerp. You look at it takes every most countries on the planet, and even China now, Western countries have blood on their hands from raiding, pillaging, cannibalizing, brutally assaulting different groups and countries on the African continent, from the Arabs in the north to sub-Saharan Africa, all the way down to South Africa, all the way across from Kenya, um, all the way to the west, and Ghana, Nigeria. Um, Several countries are still, in some way, reeling from that Berlin conference. And finally, after so many years, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Chad are stepping up and saying, "Hey, we're doing the Sahel region. We're going to partner with Russia to maintain, to get our security forces together. We're manufacturing our own arms, and this is going to start spreading to Senegal, to Ghana, to Niger. I'm sorry, to Nigeria. It's going to spread all throughout the so-called wink, wink, and a prayer ECOWAS. Go look that up. It's
Shout
going to,
out to you,
He's trying
bro.
to shut
it's
that
going
down.
to spread.
Trump is trying to
It's
crash
going
that.
to.
We'll be at war in Iran in 2 weeks by April 20th. Good night.
So what you may or may not be aware, or said that China just built a huge port in Eritrea right now. Um, and the United States is building a huge, massive 5,000 um, person embassy in Lebanon right now, so they can jump off to anywhere in any direction. So I don't know what you're talking about with the rack thing or taking place. I don't really see that as a former military personnel with the top secret clearance in the military. So it could. I'm just not in that. I'm not. I don't have access to that anymore. But what I'm loving for the continent of Africa, specifically Burkina Faso,
Shout out to
Mali,
Burkina Faso.
Niger, Chad, what they did by kicking out the French, Sarkozy, and all those guys. I
Add
wish.
Senegal to it. Add Senegal to it last week.
Oh,
Yeah,
amen.
Senegal last
Praise
week.
God. And I hope
Praise
Cote
God.
d'Ivoire gets rid of Alassane Ouattara and puts in Babo, or gets somebody else in there who understands what's going on, so they don't carve up the country with with the French, by trying to get the people from the religious groups to fight against each other. So it turns into another Sudan. If you guys have been watching what's taking place the past 2 days in Sudan, go look it up.
Yes, yes, I'm
I'm
aware.
sorry. I'm an American, and I'm very passionate about what takes place on the African continent, because I know from friends and colleagues and college mates and classmates what has been going on since I was a little boy in the 70s.
Well, you know
Bro,
what?
shout
We
out to
do
you, man.
difference to
Listen, I've
America,
had it,
though.
yeah.
We do difference to America. Whatever that was happening in Africa and what has transpired in Africa, I can say, especially during the colonial period, that America did not play an active role. The only role America played was in the 1884 partition of Africa, that America was just there to support France. That was the only role America played, but America did not have any colony in Africa. But post-colonial period, every one of them, both America and the West, one major part they played in Africa was go there and build military bases. They are not interested in building industries. Rather, they will sabotage industries. Take, for example, a country like Nigeria that wanted to build the steel industry right from the 1970s when they had the money and they had the oil boom. The West has sabotaged it. Up to today, America does not have steel. And for any country to develop, you're going to have to start with steel. Steel is what made America what America became after the Civil War, after the independence. As a matter of fact, if you don't, everything starts from steel. From steel, you'll be able to build railroads. With steel, you'll be able to build ships. You'll be able to control trade and build ships and transport goods and back and forth. Without steel, you're basically going to be where you are. So they sabotage it. Okay, they will be in your country. They will come in. They will take the raw diamonds. They will take the crude oil. They will take the natural resources in raw form, and they take it to Europe and they sell it. Okay, how many countries in Europe that manufactures gold? Right? How many
But Mr.
countries?
Jude,
Yes,
Mr.
go
Jude,
ahead.
wouldn't you say that that will be the country's fault if America comes in and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you $100 billion to develop your country," and leave?
No,
Yeah,
it's
Would
not
you
but
the
say?
but
country.
it's not true
It's,
because
it's,
they
it's
come
not
in
the.
with
Let me tell you
economic
what is
and
going on. Why
soft
you
power,
can.
and then they move to hard
Yeah,
power.
it's not really the country's fault, right? Because what they do this is they will manipulate your politics. They will handpick who they want to be, and they will support that person. Okay, and they hold that
They did
person
it.
by they
They
will
did
hold
it in
that
Cote
person by
d'Ivoire.
yeah, they will hold that person by the testicles. Right now that I'm talking to you, Nigerian president is in Paris. He's been in Paris for a couple of days. He's going to be there for another 2 3 weeks. And
Is
this
he
is
still
maybe
begging
his
for money?
maybe his fifth travel over there since he became president. What is he doing in Paris?
It's a
Do you
fucking
understand?
joke.
He's
It's a
kissing the
fucking
ring.
joke, bro.
He's
There
kissing the
It's a
you
ring.
go.
joke.
He's kissing
Okay,
the
there
ring
you go.
just
So
like the guy in Cote d'Ivoire who they put in the guy from next door um, into the country as president, who his wife is, I think, Moroccan French. So you got France inside in the back door with a man who's not even from Cote d'Ivoire, who's running the country, tearing it apart, and they put Gabo in jail at the Hague. It's the exact same thing. It's the come in now. The fact that this criminal from Nigeria, this drug dealer, is hanging out in France is because he's trying to. He needs protection. He needs protection. That's why he's down there kissing the ring and getting on his knees and doing whatever he has to do.
yeah, you
Nigeria is
see,
too rich of a country to do
Hey
this.
guys, let's pass the mic.
Thank you for that, Sir Jude. It's good to hear.
absolutely.
You know,
And listen, I wasn't
Thanks for
necessarily
the update, guys.
I wasn't necessarily saying morally, right? I was talking about who's going to win, and I was saying that America is willing to fight a little dirty. That's morally is not necessarily, uh, I think, the highest ground. But moving on.
Who do you think destroyed Gaddafi? America's
Oh,
hands were all over that. We went
yo,
from
I'm
Condoleezza
agreeing.
Rice. What are you
I am
talking about?
aggressively agreeing with you guys that we don't have the moral high ground. I'm just saying that in a global trade war, not having the moral high ground might actually cause you to win, which is sort of fucked up. But anyway, I digress. Uh, so moving on, do you want to talk about Dr. Hope's random interjection that we're going to bomb Iran
Yeah,
and the
Yeah,
second
we could
bomb?
do that.
I
We
wanted
could
to
do that.
respond to that Gaddafi thing. A lot of people have been I don't know. A lot of people have been getting that Gaddafi story a little bit confused, and truth needs to be told. As an African, I don't like people writing our stories. I like to be very clear and direct with our history. Okay, that
Well,
Gaddafi story is a little bit
here's
skewed.
Here's my understanding, Sir Jude, that
Yes.
Gaddafi was a Pan Africanist and was trying to create a monetary zone in North Africa, and that would have caused a massive competing economic bloc to form across a great swath of Africa, and he was basically taken out. Did I
yes,
get that right?
that is true,
No,
and
no,
that
that's a picture that is being painted. Okay.
there is truth to that. I mean, he was trying to set up the was it not the African
But yes, the African
fucking hell?
currency, and he also
Okay.
said, "I'm an African first before I'm an Arab," and the other 22 Arab countries turned against him, and that is what gave the green light to Sarkozy, not Sarkozy, what's the guy before him, France and America, to go in there and clean them out, and
Yep.
which, if anyone knows, at that time, that country was supplying a great deal of gas to France and to other parts of Western Europe from Libya. For those who don't know.
It was the
Yeah, but
gold
that's
doona, I
that's
think
not
it
what took
was.
out Gaddafi though.
It was because he was going to back the gold doona with gold and take as
Yeah,
opposed to destabilize the dollar.
all of those things were going on, but that's not what took out Gaddafi. I mean, sometimes we just kind of conflate events. Gaddafi has always been let's get it straight. Gaddafi has always been a troublemaker. He's one of the best African leaders that ever existed. He's a pain in the ass for the West, but his death is not because of the monetary policy or because of the stance that he took. No, that was not what took Gaddafi out. Okay, I mean, first of all, what caused Gaddafi's death is the mistake that he made. Okay, Gaddafi was having problems internally. Okay, the sanctions that was leveled on him by the West was eating on him. He was having internal problems. He has very lofty ideas. A lot of things that he wanted to do for his country and for Africa, he wasn't able to do it because of the sanctions. So the problem was creeping. He was having internal problems. He was doing a lot of good things for his people, spending a lot of money, but he was getting a little bit of problem internally. Okay, which forced him to relinquish his nuclear ambition. Okay, because he wanted the sanctions released so that he could get some money and do what he's doing, right? So it wasn't for the money thing, but the straw that breaks the camel's back was next door in Tunisia. Remember, there was an Arab Spring that started there. And because of the internal problems that he was having inside his country, people in his country used that opportunity. The Arab Spring spread across the Mediterranean. People in his country rose up against him. They also rose up in Syria. They also rose up in Egypt. We know
They
that
sound
at
like
that time,
they
right?
sound like Democrats that have no faith, bro. And
You're
this is the
you're
problem.
you're conflating things about the
Let
Arab
can I
Spring
let
as it
me
relates to
I
that.
need you to listen to me because
You're
this is something that I
conflating,
studied
sir.
this is something that I studied and this is something that I'm quite involved in from A to Z. Okay, so I know what is happening and I know what happened there. Okay, I'm not saying that the French didn't want to take him out. The French wanted to take him out, but it is not for the monetary policy. But Gaddafi played into their hands, and I'm trying to tell you why. Maybe for us, knowing the history, we'll be able to avoid mistakes. Our leaders could be able to avoid the mistakes for the future. Okay? When the Arab Spring started, Gaddafi wanted to use air in order to suppress them in Benghazi. The United Nations went and came up with Resolution 1970. Okay, the UN Resolution 1970 precluding um, no-fly zone in the
Yeah,
area.
fly zone.
Okay, so the Resolution 1970 reason you have to also understand that one of the biggest problems that Gaddafi had was he has no friends. Gaddafi has no friends in the UN. He has no friends in Security Council. Because the thing that was happening to him was happening in Syria. Why wasn't Syria dethroned? Because Syria had friends. Gaddafi had no friends. That was why they could be able to come with the resolution 1970. Okay? Now, the biggest mistake Gaddafi made was he threatened genocide. During this period, genocide was right front and center in the world politics. That was when we were talking about establishing the ICC. There has been the Rome Accord has been passed. We just came out from Rwanda, and we are dealing with Srebrenica of the genocide and the massacre. Gaddafi went to the public radio and he said, I'm going to chase them out like rats and I'm going to kill them at their doorsteps like rats. He threatened genocide, and that played into the hands of his enemies. The French went and got Resolution 1973. And that Resolution 1973 was to take every action to protect civilians except foreign troops in Libyan soil. And you know NATO loves the water. NATO jumped on it in the heartbeat. Obama did not even want to get involved in that. If you remember, American policy at that time, they were asking America, why weren't you leading? The American policy was, we are leading, but we are leading from behind. It was France that went Security Council. Gaddafi did not have any friend that could veto the bill, and that's why NATO was commissioned, and that's what took Gaddafi out. It was an
It,
incremental. I just want you to get the timeline, to get the sequence that led to Gaddafi being taken out. Not that they that
If you remember, this actually started under Bush with Condoleezza Rice doing her dance for the Lockerbie bombing that had taken place earlier, if you remember. Then later, Obama with Hillary Clinton, Obama, the most drone killingest, what's the Nobel Peace Prize winning, and his hench person Hillary Clinton were the ones who were behind the scenes navigating a lot of this and allowing France to take the lead. But continue with the no-fly zone.
So, talking about no-fly zone, it is alleged that from a friend of mine here in the GOP that said six bombers, stealth bombers, touched down in what's the place called? Sergio Garcia, and Mr. Netanyahu came to talk to Trump about it. I understand Iran's supposed to meet with Trump this weekend, Saturday, to discuss a deal, and Iran cannot back out of the deal. That's what I understand. It's alleged that he's not supposed to say no to the deal. So as the lady came in and said Iran will be bombed, what date she said? April 20th, I think she said. It's going to get crazy.
Whatever that they do, I hope
Yeah.
they
So
don't attack Iran,
yeah.
because at the end
So
of the
what?
day, what they are going to do is plunge the whole region into a civil war. What are they going to gain from that?
What they're going to get here in the West is misdirection, like Harry Houdini, so we can hide all the grift and not pay attention to all the legal activities that this current administration in the states are doing. So what do? Immerse yourself in a war to. It's just misdirection and grift, Sir Jude.
Yeah, if you attack Iran and if you try to take out the Ayatollah, you're going to just plunge the country into a civil war. So you're going to have a civil war in Iran, you're going to have a civil war in Iraq, you're going to have a civil war in Yemen, and you're going to have a civil war in Palestine, or possibly you have a civil war in Syria, and also possibly one in Lebanon. So the whole place is going to engulf in war. What are you going to get out of that?
I,
Nothing
I,
at all. You
I
remember
think
Iran is not Iraq.
it's
People don't.
alleged that they're going after the nuclear because they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. That's the alleged thing I'm
That's the
hearing.
that's the that's the spoken pretense. We can't allow them to have nuclear weapons because they will attack Israel and other folks. So we have to do preemptive attacks. That's that old Ronald Reagan strategy, as far as attack first and then figure it out.
And I understand they're pretty close of completing their nuclear weapon.
I don't know if it's a weapon or if it's just for their own internal energy thing.
And
I wouldn't
I
believe
don't
it.
I
About
don't
two
know.
years
I
ago,
would just listen to the allegations, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty good to know.
but by now you
So
should estimate that Iran has the capability of making the weapon. They have enough uranium, enriched uranium, to make the weapon. As I thought, about 2 years ago, there was an intelligence assessment that we did as a part of a study. And they were about 60% enrichment. And from 60% to 95% enrichment takes about 3 months. And so by then, they would have, about last year, they would have had enough enrichment to produce a bomb. Now, that could have increased a lot. But the only thing we think that they do not have yet is the delivery capacity, the capability to deliver the bomb. That was why, if you notice, there was a lot of shipments that was coming from from North Korea, that was interdicted. We believe that they were trying to get some of those missiles from North Korea that could be able to deliver. They got some of the missiles, but we are not sure if they have that capability to deliver. We know that they have the capability to deliver up to Europe, even up to Israel. But the intercontinental, we are not sure. There are some missiles that we know that they got from North Korea that could deliver up to Europe and past Israel even, right? So
So we have
that's
a
where you are.
Um,
There's a naval carrier group in the Gulf of Aden right now. There's a naval carrier group in the Met right now. It's there to do a lot of the interceptions for them trying to shoot fire munitions toward Israel. Those U.S. naval carrier groups are still there, if you're not aware.
And that's what I understood, that we always have naval there and all them good stuff, but I understand the bombers left on their own trip, based on a conversation that Trump is supposed to have with Iran on Saturday. So I'm like, what are you saying? And he's trying to explain it to me. I'm like, no, I'm not buying that. So I asked the group, I came in the group today and I was asking, who in here is military, to explain, because I didn't even know where Garcia was, whatever the place was, and they explained it to me, and we start doing my research. But it's a naval base, and even when you Google it, you could see the bombers sitting on the runaway, and that's the same thing the guy said. That instead of parking them in the hangars, they're just sitting on the runaway. To anybody who, in terms of these leaders that look up to see what's happening, these planes are sitting on the runway, and they didn't fly at night, they fly at day, go into this base, and they just waiting. I'm like, that's just down. That, you mean, come on,
Just
that's
just think about
intimidation
it.
to the top.
Look at a map. Look at where the Persian actual water, the Persian Gulf is, right next to
Mhm.
Kuwait, Iran. I'm sorry, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. So right, coming bound by Dubai, and then you go look
Correct.
at the Gulf of Aden on the other backside of Saudi, and you look at the Red Sea where they can get there very, relatively quickly, and then you look at the Mediterranean. They kind of got it covered, and then they're building a big, huge base with a Marine Expeditionary Force right now, which is I don't know how much in Beirut. So there's a lot of and then MBS will let U.S. military planes land on his soil. So I don't know about the whole Iran trying to attack Israel thing, or how successful it actually will be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it's the other way around.
I just thought we were going to do it. What was that, like 1987 style or whatever? It was before my time. It was before I was even born. But like fly there and bomb the bejesus out of their like nuclear reactors? Right? I mean, that's a thing that happened, right? In Iran, didn't we do that? Or was that an Israeli
Mm.
mission and we supported it?
That may have been Israeli.
I think it's the
That,
Israeli
that
mission.
wasn't that
Was it?
wasn't America.
Okay.
In the 80s, with Iran, after the Shah came back to power, after they kicked out the Western folks in '79, the Western backed Shah, who was put in by the West, who to sit and rule for a number of years, because in the '50s, for those who remember history, Mossadegh was the man who was leading the country of Iran, and it was basically nationalizing it, kind of how Venezuela is doing it right now. So U.S. put in this Shah, Western-based Shah, who was very liberal in his thoughts, and when the whole thing went tits up, he was kicked out, brought to the states. A lot of his family folks, and then that's when regime change took place. Um, yeah, definitely that was the '80s.
What's the possibility of putting him back in place? The Shaw family.
Of Iran?
Yeah, I heard that today, so that's why I'm asking the question.
No, I don't see that. The
You
mullahs
don't
run
see that,
everything over there. The mullahs run everything over there now, dude. No,
because they're talking about removing them to put somebody else in place, and I'm like, I don't know nothing about over there. I'm just listening. So that's why I'm here asking questions.
go look up Mossadegh from the 1950s. How he was
Okay,
in
I'll
office
do.
and he was removed, and they put the Shah, and he was in from then late '50s all the way to '79 until he was removed and had to escape. Remember the Iranian hostage situation?
Yeah.
They kind of made a fictional movie about it. It was actually worse than that. What's the guy? Not Ben Affleck. What's the other boy? What's the other guy? what's the other actor? His friend. No, yeah, it was Ben Affleck. It was one of them, the tall one. Which one is the tall one?
Ben Affleck.
Yeah, him. They
Matt
made
is a short one.
they
Yeah.
made a movie about it, which it, it has some story. Some of it is true, and another was like, yeah, all right.
Okay.
No, the thing is that the crown prince is very instrumental. It's like a figurehead. It happens in the Middle East. When somebody is dethroned, there's always a figurehead that is out here in the West lobbying for intervention. So he's here lobbying, and it becomes like a kind of a moral figurehead, a moral support that some people in Iran are looking towards him to come back because he's like it brings a different alternative to what they have now, right? So they kind of feel that what they had under his father was better than what they have now. So it's like a figurehead. But that's not going to work in my view, okay? Because we've seen this played out in Iraq. The same thing that Chalabi did with Saddam Hussein. And then when Saddam Hussein was toppled, Iraqis rejected him. I cannot think that Iran has so much moved and so much redeveloped now that they are not going to go back to where they were before. And also, there was a reason why Shah was dethroned, right? And Iran is so much fractured right now and politically divided. There are different splinter groups that anybody that goes in there has to be an autocratic. There is no doubt about it. Anybody that could rule that place have to have an iron hand. I don't care who you put there. You could put Pope Francis there. For him to be successful as a ruler, he has to be very heavy-handed. But, in order to hold the glue together. And that's the politics of the place. There is nothing you can do. If you're thinking about democracy, you could forget about it. It's never going to work. Not at this time, at least, right? So that's why I'm saying it's very, very delicate for America to go there to try to do a regime change. If they try to force a regime change, what they're going to end up doing is plunging the whole country into a civil war because there are so much factions. And power is concentrated. Power is concentrated right now on the hands of the very few. Okay? So those few are going to try to resist. They're not going to give up power easily. So there's going to be a tension, there's going to be a conflict. Okay? So there are going to be splinter groups. And that's a recipe for civil war. And we've seen
Well,
that playing out in Iraq, we've seen
true.
that playing out in Libya and elsewhere. So are we going to repeat the same mistake again?
I
Well,
I
Uncle.
think what just took place in Syria, it is possible at some point for some form of socialized democracy to take place after they had Assad for such a long time. I mean, it may not be in my lifetime, but I still think it's available. It's possible.
There
But
are
I think
killings going on in Syria right now, very silent killings going on in Syria as we speak. They're eliminating Christians, they're killing people. There is a lot of
Yes,
executions
yes,
and extrajudicial killings that are going on quietly and it's not being reported.
yes. I've heard.
So,
Yes,
so Reza Pahlavi, the son of the last Shah of Iran, it currently still claims that title, is living in exile in Egypt right now, and is 12 years younger. I'm sorry, 14 years younger than Donald Trump. So there is a Shah still about apparently.
Scald. He's here in D.C.
Wait, what?
Yes, he's here in D.C.
Reza
Yeah,
Pahlavi.
Yes, the
yeah.
Shah.
He lives.
Yes,
He lives somewhere in
he's in
Virginia.
D.C.
He travels Virginia and California. He's back and forth.
Yes,
That's crazy.
Netanyahu met with him in D.C. That's the rumor I heard. Allegedly. That's
No,
what I'm saying. Yes, that's what I'm hearing.
that's
So
crazy.
that's what I'm saying. And then the meeting with Iran just popped up on Saturday. So I'm like, what is happening? So that's why I'm asking these questions to see who knows anything that or heard anything that's what's going on. Because you can't tell me that Trump is going to fix it because that's what he says he's going to do. I could fix it because when the Houthis started fooling around, Trump said, "Okay, let me fix it for you." And he claims there's no more Houthis. So that's where Iran they sent out a call to Iran and said, "Come to the table. This is we're going to give you a deal." So the deal should be on the table on Saturday, and the person said they can't say no. So let's see how that goes.
This is crazy, really, really crazy right now. Even that prince, I don't even know if his position is good for his country. Because if I'm an Iranian, I think I know what I want.
True, that is so true. That is so true. Yeah, he. When I heard he's here, I'm like, "What do you mean he's here?" So yeah, he's here. He's in DC. I'm like, oh, okay. So, because you remember when Netanyahu came in, they were supposed to meet in a public place, and then they moved it to somewhere else, private.
Yes,
I think that's where he met with the guy Shaw.
interesting. And
And he,
he apparently he's met, looking here i- across some history here. He's met Netanyahu on several occasions.
yes,
You talking about this Reza guy?
Yeah,
Shaw. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, same person.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He met him in 2013, 2024. So like they've had talks lately.
So
Interesting.
here's a chess move. If he and if Reza and Netanyahu, what's Netanyahu's first name? Bibi. They get
hmm
together and figure out some type of friendship or something. um, the United States will publicly put help this guy get back in office, and Israel will quietly support it.
I think
Because yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, but Iran is going to reject him. That's the point.
it's not about rejecting at this point. Trump is going to use his heavy hand.
Is he the son of the former guy?
He's the son of the
Y-
Shia.
Yep.
God, they're gonna. If that guy goes back, they're gonna plunge that place into a civil war. There's no doubt about that one.
Let's see.
I mean, it
Well,
depends on how
we
many
don't
of
want to
the
see.
Who's
depends on
going to
how.
support him? The IRGC is not going to support him. Are you going to dismantle the army?
eh,
Let's say you dismantle the army. Who is going to hold him? Are you going to start all over, dismantle the army, dismantle the whole security apparatus in the country and start all over?
He's not going to dismantle the army.
Okay, then. So who's going to support him?
I mean, according to some of these studies, he's got a fair amount of support from Iranians in Iran on social media, and they've
Okay.
been trying to crack down on it. I mean,
Yeah, but look at 95% of Iranians suppose that Iran should have a nuclear weapon. How do you overcome that? They're going to see him as American stooge because he's not coming out there to continue with the nuclear program. They've seen what happened in Gaddafi. They see what happened in Saddam Hussein. They see what happened in Syria. If Iranians want the nuclear weapon, that's one thing that they agree with. Every Iranian wants their country to have the nuclear weapon. They know if this guy comes in, he's going to scuttle that plan. Who is going to support him? That's where you have a problem.
But isn't that where the other countries are saying should not have a nuclear weapon, and that's what they're trying to stop.
Absolutely, yes. They've been trying. They've been firing things towards Israel as long since the '80s. Um, they absolutely would not want them to have a nuclear weapon, especially one that can reach, um, that, Israel, Lebanon, or anywhere else in Europe or the continent of Africa. Absolutely, they
Yeah,
are.
in
everybody don't. Nobody
February,
wants them to have it, but
in
they want to
Feb,
have it because they believe that they believe that the survival of their country depends on them having it. So they want it. And that's why they are supporting the mullah. That's the one thing that the mullah is using. Be using that America is the big Satan, is the big snake, Israel is the little snake. They want to take us over. The only thing that we have is let's unite and get this weapon. So that's why the country is actually, they are suffering. Everybody is suffering. They are selling it that, listen, these guys don't want us to have this weapon. If we don't have this weapon, they're going to finish us. They believe that. So they want the weapon. You think that they're going to bring this guy in and have this guy scuttle the nuclear ambition and then go the way of Gaddafi? They're not
So
going to do that.
let's just say hypo. Uh, Israel start something. America comes in and wipe out the nuclear plants, or Israel goes in and wipe out the nuclear plants, and America drop a few heavy bombs, with helping Israel to contain the fight, to
Mm-hmm.
change regime. Wouldn't Trump look like a savior to that region?
Okay, you're going to bomb a few places that you've done before. Iran have learned before. Iran has learned how to bury their things underneath. Okay, you're going to bomb a few things, but for you to do a regime change, you really need boots on the ground. Who's going to go in?
I mean, that's the easiest part.
No, it's not.
How
No,
is the
stop.
easiest
Okay,
part?
No, it's
okay,
not. What?
that's
Why
the
is it
easiest
easy?
part.
The easiest?
I
No,
mean,
How is it easy, bro?
no,
I
it's
mean,
not. No, it's not. If you spend time in
okay,
Iraq, if you spend time in Iraq and Afghanistan, boots on the ground, no, it's not easy at all.
okay,
Like
okay.
what?
Yeah, you're going
I,
to destroy the place. You're going to bomb from the air, but you got to go in to take over. Who's going to do that?
I see what you're saying, but isn't it more of I take out all the military bases, and then from
Now,
there?
but listen, let me tell you something, okay?
Mhm.
What they are trying to do, rewrite history. Netanyahu and Trump messed up. Okay, they messed up by pulling off from the joint action. They messed up by scuttling that deal. Okay, Iran would have been under some kind of monitor. Iran would have been prevented from at least getting to where they are now with the bomb. They messed it up. Now it's coming to bite them in the ass. They're trying to rewrite history. Okay, the cat is out of the bag. The only thing that they have now to do is this: containment. The guys have, if they don't have the weapon now, they're going to have the weapon. There's no doubt about it. You're going to just have to contain them, okay? And now hope and pray that the Ayatollah dies as soon as possible. This is an ideology that is going to fade out. Ayatollah will die with part of his ambition. Maybe his son will take over, whoever that is going to take over, you could now be able to inculcate. That person is not going to be as hardline as his father that fought the revolution. We've seen some of the Iranian leaders that have been coming up. They are fundamental, but they are not as hardline as the Ayatollah. We see somebody like Ahmadinejad and all whatnot, right? Roteni. They are not as hardline as the guy. Okay, so these are the ones that you could try to bring in through diplomacy and by releasing a little bit of the sanctions, let them taste the good life, let them flex the muscle a little bit, and then work with them diplomatically and have them relax. Everybody is relaxing in the region. Saudi Arabia is relaxing in the region. So realization is coming in, right? So you could work with a new leader. It takes time. This is not something you're not gonna win this on the battle. I don't care how many you could bomb the place to the den age. You're never gonna win this on the battlefield.
No,
Okay?
you're not. You're
There
not.
you
Hey,
go.
somebody named Chris wants to speak. Chris, can you come up? He had his hand up. Chris, are you there? Chris, Ejamor 4. Mods, how do you let this person up on the stage? He's in the bottom
Let,
left.
Yeah,
let me
one
see.
second.
Let
One
me see.
second, Ty.
I don't see anybody, Chris. Okay, let me see if I send him something.
He's in the
Let me
bottom
see.
left.
He's in now. He's in. He's in.
Yeah.
He's in.
No, he's still in the bottom in the audience.
I sent him an invitation. If he wants it, he could click on it.
I don't think it's good, Sir Jude, for Iran to have a nuke, and nor do I think it's good for any Western country to put boots on the ground because it only inflames things. Nor should we be bombing. Let them figure it out internally. But we should not, definitely not have boots on the ground in Iran. No.
Well, what you could say, number one, if you can't stop them from having a nuke, you can't stop them from having a nuke, right? If they have a nuke, that doesn't mean you can't contain them. If they have a nuke, that doesn't mean that that they're going to use the nuke. Nuke has been in existence, and it has served as a deterrent. It's become a deterrent move, you know. So I mean, there is a mutual assured destruction, right?
You don't think they'll use it if they have it?
Use it
Uh,
against who? I mean, use it against who? Once they release it against who? Use it against Israel. Okay, then they're
Israel.
going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
but they don't
It's a
care because
suicide.
They don't care.
they don't want
No,
Israel
they do
to
care.
they don't
Trust
want
me, they
Israel
do
to
care.
exist. So you don't do that.
They do
They
care.
don't care.
At the end of the day, okay, they know if they use nuke, they're going to be wiped out completely. Okay, they're not going to live. Their family is not going to live. Their country is not going to live. Nobody's going to be there. So at the end of the day, what do you gain? Is a suicide.
That's what they want to get rid of Israel.
Then you can't get rid of you can't get rid of Israel like that. Remember, okay, supposing you shoot and you miss.
You're not gonna miss.
How do you mean you're not gonna miss?
You're not gonna
You're
miss.
gonna have a delivery system, right?
Yeah.
You shoot and you miss. Maybe you got intercepted, or maybe okay, you hit Tel Aviv, or you hit Jerusalem, okay, and you wipe out Jerusalem. At the cost of wiping out Jerusalem, and you getting the whole of your country getting erased from the face of the earth, does it worth it?
To them, it'll be yes.
No, no, trust me. That's just a facade. It doesn't. That asymmetrical deterrent rude do work. They don't want to die. These guys don't want to die, bro. They've been living in splendor. Okay, they've been living all their life accumulating. These are not terrorists. These
L-
are state
let me
actors.
let me ask you this, Jude. Do you
Yes.
think if Ukraine had nuclear weapons, Russia would have entered into Ukraine?
What do you mean, Russia? Would you enter into Ukraine? I don't get it.
If Ukraine still had their nuclear weapons,
Yes.
do you think Russia would have tried what they tried with Ukraine?
No, Russia would have factored that. They would have put it into their calculation, knowing that if they push them to the wall, that these guys have this. I don't think Russia would have been
Okay.
as aggressive and bold as they are now, as would have been as
Okay.
they are now.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So then, if Iran has nuclear weapons, do you think that Israel could then say any kind of crap back to Iran and not get one?
No, Israel would have chosen much more a different approach. They would have engaged them a little bit more diplomatically. Like Trump wouldn't have arbitrarily scuttled that joint comprehensive action that he
Okay.
scuttled. Do you understand? They would have dealt with you a little
Yeah.
bit respectfully, and that's why
Okay.
they want the weapon.
And you notice the last crossfire that they had, countries that didn't speak to Israel in 20, 30 years started speaking to Israel
Okay.
just to help them defend them against Iran, because I mean that speaks volume that they probably didn't like Iran.
It's not
From
like
from
they don't like. Yeah. It's not that they don't like Iran. Iran is Iran has a malign influence in the region, okay? And because of they don't have the weapon and they don't want to attract direct attention to them, but they still want to um, fed off. Um, uh, they just want to fed up a lot of intrusions that are coming their way. So they have to do that by proxy, okay? Every country does that. Most of the countries does that. They have to fight by proxy. It's just that the proxies that they have, like Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and the Tutsis, those proxies are ragtag. Okay, but America has proxies, and they do this process in order to have plausible deniability. Okay, what do you
Yeah,
think that America does when they use private military contractors? Those are proxies.
correct.
Okay,
You're right.
Black Rocks and the Triple Canopy. What is Russia doing in Africa with the Wagner Group? Those are proxies. Wagner
Correct.
Group Wagner Group recruits most of their fighters from Russian prisons. Go figure. Those are criminals that they are giving military uniforms and they are putting them on the field, right? To
Second
guide.
chance. Yeah.
You understand? So, but France does all of that. Majority of the France machineries, well, they don't use the word machinery now because they had outlawed it in 2014. Majority of their private military contractors are former French combatants, right? So they all use this
Mhm.
process, okay? But Iran is doing it also. So let's just call a spade a spade. Do you understand? Sometimes, if you don't know what is going on, it will be easier for you to point fingers and all whatnot, right? But they forced Iran to go for the nuclear weapon. They did, okay? Because quite as kept though, if they had left, if Saddam Hussein wasn't knocked out of the picture, Iran would have had a lot of problems. You had Saddam Hussein putting this guy on the check. Once you knock off Saddam Hussein, Iran becomes a problem. Nobody was feeling Iran's problem before. Iran was hiding under the radar until you knock off Saddam Hussein. Then you realize that you have a bigger problem. Saddam was telling you what he was doing, okay, the even-handedness, what he was doing, and then you knock off Saddam. Once you knock off Saddam, the whole lead come off. Now you see the problem, the magnitude of the problem that we have in the region.
Mm, okay. Yeah, I just feel that, yeah, and based on the history of the fighting in that region, giving them that weapon, if they acquire that weapon by finish building it, is going to be a lot more than just, okay, we have a weapon.
They're not going to use it. They are a state. It's all rhetoric. Um, most of the countries uh, are now having diplomatic relations with Israel. Iran had just trying to establish diplomatic relations with Saudi Arabia. Iran and Israel back in the days, Iran and Israel were like buddies. Do you understand that? Iran didn't have in the beginning. Iran didn't have any problem with Israel. Is this Israeli Palestinian thing that brought about it to the fore? And I could tell you, I can estimate to you that if Iran happens to have that weapon with Ayatollah out of the scene, the prospect of Iran having a diplomatic relation with Israel is very, very close. The only person that you see that actually preventing peace in that region, regrettably, is Netanyahu. To be quite honest with you, Netanyahu is a problem. Okay, I'm quite sure with Netanyahu out of the scene and the Ayatollah out of the scene, the prospect of peace between Iran and Israel is very real. I could tell you that.
Okay, because I mean that fighting go back from Bible times. I'm just after hundred of years of fighting. Like, what are you fighting for? Like, seriously.
Both Netanyahu and the Ayatollah has a political incentive to keep the antagonism going on. The antagonism helps Netanyahu politically, it helps him financially, and the antagonism also helps the Ayatollah um, politically, help him to rally his people, hold them together. The idea that they have a common enemy that is coming to wipe them out, help sustain him in power. So they all have, all of them that are involved in that war, in that conflict, all benefit from it. Hezbollah benefits from it. Without that conflict, Hezbollah will not have any incentive to operate across Lebanese borders.
So
The,
I appreciate that,
technically,
Sir Jude, but I would like to have as somebody that's lived with this and grew up in the Jewish community, I'd also like to have somebody at some point that has a significant background on. That would be an interesting conversation, quite frankly. But I can't talk about it now. I got to be kind of quiet.
okay. Yes, Tad, you
so
were saying something, Jonathan.
then if the Ayatollah is removed and this Shah person is put in place, would you say there'll be peace?
No, the Shah is not going to be sustainable. Shah is just going to cause Shah is going to cause division. The army is not going to support him. The IRGC, the loyalist of the Ayatollah, is not going to support him. He's going to be a divisive figure. Um, he's not his father. That's number one. And number two, he's going to be seen as an American stooge, which goes against the belief. There is a very cultural sensitivity that is here. Okay, Persians doesn't like anybody to impose something on them. They believe that they are, that they are actually one of the first citizens of the world. They have pride. They are not good. That's one of the reasons they kicked the Shah out, because they feel that his father was leaning towards the West more, and they didn't like that. And that's what gave the Ayatollah the impetus and the recognition that he needed in order to come and take over power. So they don't like being controlled from outside. So he's going to be an emblem, a representative of that, and they're not going to accept him. They will need him now because they will need him now in order to bring in to try to knock off Ayatollah. But once Ayatollah is off, they're not going to support him. He's going to be a divisive figure. That's for sure. Iran would like to select their own, and who is that person going to be? We don't know. There is no viable person except maybe somebody that is a little bit moderate, that is in between, that will come supported by the army and seen as moderate and try to rule, but is going to rule with an iron fist. There's no doubt about it. It has to be somebody that the people know and accept, not somebody that is being imposed on them. Iran is not going back to imperialism anymore. That's not going to happen.
So I also understand allegedly that Iran still have a bounty out on our president's head. That's why he's stepping up to get things done.
Uh, I mean,
That's what I said.
uh, that's not neither here nor there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think trying to gun for the U.S. president right now is just kind of a long shot. To try to go after an American president is a long shot. You have a better chance when he's no longer the president than when he's the president, because this guy is the most guided individual in the whole world. I mean, how are you going to penetrate
Okay.
to get him? So
Okay.
that's kind of, you don't have that kind of money to buy your way through that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of Iran has much more problems to deal with than going. What are they going to? What are they going to? They don't even need that heat right now, because if you go after American president, whether you succeed or you fail, that's an act of war. That's a declaration of war.
100%. 100%.
You know what I mean? So
So
I
let,
don't
let
think they
me
want
let me
that heat. Nobody wants that
let
heat.
me let me change the direction a little bit. What do you think about Trump investing in the Gaza Strip?
That's a
You think it's
pipe dream.
possible?
That's a pipe dream. That's a complete. That shows you that he does not understand the cultural dynamics of the place. You know what I mean? That shows you somebody that is not that is very whimsical and capricious in approach. That's not how diplomacy is made. You got to understand the people. Okay, what are you going? You're going to knock down? You're going to knock down mosques and build hotel?
Well, that's what he said. He's going to make it so beautiful that the people may not want to come back.
How are you even going to build in the place? Do you understand? you have an insurgent there. Are you going to wipe out the whole people there? You have people that have scars of centuries. You have people that have, you know, that have lost family members. You have people that want revenge. You have people that are bloodthirsty. Are you going to build a hotel? Who is going to? It doesn't even make any sense, to be quite honest with you, because you could do that in Gaza, but are you going to wipe out the whole Palestinians? Okay, the rest of the people goes to West Bank, and then what are you going to do? You're going to wipe out West Bank too? It's a problem. You can't just resolve that problem like that. A lot has happened in that region that this generation does not have the mindset of peace. You can't have peace. Netanyahu is not going to make peace. Things have to drastically change, okay, before there will be peace in that region. And the players that you have right
Okay.
there right now are not the peacemakers, unfortunately.
So, what is about Egypt that do not want to accept Palestinians?
Say that again. Your phone was
Is
cutting off.
there a conflict in terms of? Say, what is it about Egyptians who do not want to accept Palestinians as their neighbors in terms of helping out?
It's not a, that's the way it's been spin on in the media. It's not that they don't accept them. Okay, it's a question of strategy. First of all, there is a substantial amount of Palestinians that are in Egypt. They go back and forth. Okay, but they know that it was a forced immigration, a forced expulsion of the people. Okay, by rejecting them, they are trying to make things difficult, for Israel and Americans to clear these people from the land, because they already know from the beginning that's what Israel wanted to do. Israel wanted that land. Israel has an ulterior motive. So all the bombing that we are bombing before, they tell them to go to the south, they bomb the north. Then they go to the south, they bomb the south. So they wanted to clear them out. If you see the kind of bombing and attacks that Israel leveled on those places, you will know that Israel did not have any intention of those people coming back or rebuilding. Because when you start bombing infrastructures that are protected by the Geneva Conventions, and you're using that to say there is a military objective, and there is no sound military objective. You're wiping out schools. All the schools are wiped out. Religious places are wiped out. Cultural centers are wiped out. So you just bomb the place into an ice age. You know that there was no intention in order to build that place again. They wanted that place in rubble so they could start all over. So the neighbors knows that. They knows that when these people goes, if they accept these people, the chances of these guys coming back out is going to be nil. They are going to be stuck with these people. They are going to destabilize their own internal composition. That's going to be a problem for them, and they also will be making it easier for these Arabs to be displaced and wiped out from their own land. That's why they are rejecting. Not that they don't like the people. They just don't want to fall for the okie dokie. That's basically what it is, and I don't blame them.
Okay, okay. I've seen the video circling around with how beautiful Gaza Strip was before the war. Is that a true video? I've asked Grok if it's true, but then Grok didn't give back a real answer to say yes or no.
Well, I don't know which video that you saw, but yeah, it was a town. It was one of the most heavily, densely populated
Beautiful
cities in the
place.
whole world. Yeah, it was densely populated, and it was functioning. It was functional. I mean, they have infrastructures, they have schools, they have universities, they have mosques, they have recreational centers and banks, and all the other infrastructures that makes up good roads, that makes up of a city. The place was functional, but right now it's a rubble town. It's been leveled. Sad.
At the same time, um,
You're in a matrix.
the ulterior moves is happening.
Say that again.
So, as much as you love to see good things happen for people, there are always going to be ulterior motives, and that's where you're like, okay, so why you want to invest in Gaza versus invest in America? Yes, you
Mm.
want to help, but at the same time, um, do it old-fashioned. Make them create their own government, and then you put a contractor to help them build back. Instead of just dumping money, put a contractor in place to help them build back properly.
Listen, the
So,
two biggest mistakes that Netanyahu made, he was trying to correct. First mistake was to allow Hamas to gain power to compete with the Palestinian authorities. Netanyahu did that. It was his policy. Now Hamas got too big and now becomes his problem. So he was trying to correct that by the kind of war that he fought, try to wipe them out. That was why he went. It was his mistake. So he's trying to leave that legacy. Okay. Second one was, Scotland, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPA, with Iran. Now, that has led to Iran possibly getting a bomb, and he's trying to bomb them now to oblivion to correct that mistake. Those are the two things that are haunting him. And all his policies revolve around that. Okay? That's why, if the man is not there, listen, let me tell you something, okay? Israel and Palestine can live in peace. There's no doubt about that. Okay? There's no doubt that if Palestinians without Hamas, that's I have to underline that. Without Hamas, Palestinians can live in peace with Israel.
I
100%.
believe so.
Of
I believe
course.
so.
Okay? Of course, if you let those people taste life, okay, empower the Palestinian authorities and let them rule the place without Hamas, and they test life, they're able to travel, maybe through Jordan, they go back and forth. Brother, what I know, what I've seen in life is, bro, once the things that drive people to fundamentalism is frustration. That's it.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct. You're right.
Frustration. Dude, when people see this life, there are some exceptions. There are some people that could be hardline that are spoiled. Maybe their father has money and they got indoctrinated and get brainwashed. That's an outlier. But in general, bro, when people start looking at this life, experiencing the life that they see on TV, okay, seeing the opportunity for them to strive and realize their dreams, bro, nobody wants to die, man. You know what I mean? The person who wants to die and go and get his 17 virgins are the ones who don't even have one virgin here to sleep with.
But
That's
wouldn't
the
you say
person.
that starts from a but no? Wouldn't you say that starts from a young indoctrination of the youngsters, of the kids?
It starts with long indoctrination, but who are you going to indoctrinate? You're going to indoctrinate the person that is timid and naive and unexposed and uneducated.
But that's a kid. If you start indoctrination from what time you could read 2, 3, then that's it. You have control of the population
Okay,
because
but
you're
that person goes to school and learn otherwise. That person gets a cell phone and Google and find out the truth for himself. Then what? That's the stage that we are in now. That you see, that's the problem that politicians and policymakers are having. That's why authoritarianism is in a very big trouble. Okay, because time has passed where you can really control people anymore. You see, nobody has the monopoly to informations anymore. There was a time even going to Russia, people like Stalin was able to rule Russia and keep the iron curtain tight that nothing can even go in. Even planes that are going into Russia, when let's say American Airlines runs in Russia, all the foreign newspapers are left on the plane. Nobody takes the foreign newspapers. They're left on the plane and they come back with them. No news goes in. The only news that goes in is what the only news that the people gets there is what they come, what the rulers want you to know. That's it. The control. But these days, there's nothing like that. You understand? So education is at the fingertip. So leaders are very, very careful right now. They are quite aware that they cannot control. They don't have monopoly on news and information. That's the
And
problem.
that doesn't exist when you go to places like China. China's have full control over their what happens and
Not
goes in.
really. Not really. Why you think Chinese are coming over here? That's why the CCP is having a problem. China has a certain control on some algorithms and some
Yeah,
platforms.
well, once you go through the doors, that's it. Your cell phone can't get because I have friends that gone there through the airline industry, and yeah, once you go in, they tell you what you can get from what you can't get.
Yeah, yes. They have a control to a certain extent, but they don't have a full, absolute control that they used to be before because of technology. China's can travel. They
Yeah, well,
don't
that
stop you
part.
from traveling.
If you're out of the country, yeah, you could get anything you want on your phone.
That's the point. That's the problem that China is having now, right? Why do you think that China is having problem with Taiwan and also with Hong Kong? Why do you think that that the system that they are proposing is not working? The one country two system solution is not working. Okay, because the people that have tested freedom, the people that have tested a different kind of government, they don't want to go back to the socialist system anymore.
Which is so true. I mean, freedom is
That's
something
the
that
point. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You see, so the world has changed. Before you don't have that alternative, but these days you have because you see how the world is living. No matter how they try to hide it and slice it, people in China can know. They know who Michael Jackson is. They know who LeBron James is. They know what is going on in the world. If they want
correct.
to
You're
know,
right.
they know. Right? The government can do this much in order to stop flow of information. They will try, but they are not succeeding. It's a losing war. It's a losing battle.
Because I mean, one of the things. I mean, I have my ancestry run through the Caribbean, Germany, and with that, when you visit family in the Caribbean, they'll ask, I mean, why don't you live here? I'm like, it's called when you get a taste of the world. When you go to, for instance, I'm not sure if you have ever been to the Niagara Falls when it
Yeah.
snows.
Yeah, I've been to
That's
Niagara Falls, St. Catharines.
when it snows. It's one of the most beautiful place ever.
Tell me about it.
So, so the taste of freedom is unreal. It's totally unreal. And then you go to the west coast. Well, I don't know if you well the mountains, the Rockies, the canyons, and you're like, man, this is beautiful. And then
Yeah,
people be like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Totally understand what you're saying.
absolutely. People don't want to die. To be honest, listen, let me tell you, these guys, if you see, I live in London also. If you see Iranians and the Saudis, when they come to London, how they live. Do you understand? And these are people, the way Switzerland, the way they will live, and then when they get on the plane going back to Iran or to Saudi, the way they would dress and all, to them it's like they're going back to the gulag once more. You understand what I'm saying? So these guys,
Yeah,
they they like life. They enjoy life. They
correct,
don't want to die.
correct,
Are you
correct.
kidding me? They don't want to
And
die, bro.
and that's where you say then, okay, how do I get the majority to see that there is life outside of what they are accustomed to?
You remember when I told you that an approach would be, let's say the Ayatollah dies naturally and a new person comes in. That's the person that you will approach. That's the person that you will court diplomatically. That's the person that you will engage. Okay? And that's the person you will say, you know what, we're going to want to work with you. We know that your people are suffering. We want you to succeed. Okay, how can we make this work? We'll release some of these sanctions so at least you could start getting this or selling your oil, but we want you to do this, to do that. Okay, and if you can do this and do that, this is the next step they are going to take. You understand? So we want to have this, relations. We can bring our people to you, help you in your colleges, set some things up. Okay, we'll give you scholarship. We have some people in your country that will come to our schools and get trained and things. You start that kinds of stuff. Just like Obama wanted to do with Cuba. I don't know why Trump stopped it. You have to engage these people. And that's how it's built. That's how you attack a nation in between. That's how you change ideologies. And that's how you win people over and coerce them. You got to engage them. Okay? You got to let them see what they are missing.
I,
Look at
I
look,
think they stopped Cuba because they wanted to. It's more of a lifetime punishment versus, okay, let me forgive you for what you tried in the past, and let's move on. It's more of a lifetime punishment I'm going to impose upon you because I think it was a good thing that we reached out and said, hey, you know what? I want to forgive you for your past. Let's see if we can move on. And because the brother took over after Chavez died, the younger brother took over, which is Raul, and let's see if we can make it work. But then Trump say no, we ain't gonna make that happen.
yeah, I think first of all, America made a very big mistake in 1898 when they kicked the Spanish out of Cuba. They could have annexed Cuba just the same way they annexed Puerto Rico. And I think there is a racial undertone there. If Cuba wasn't predominantly black, I think they should have taken over Cuba. America should have taken over Cuba. There is no need, there is no reason why Cuba shouldn't have been a part of the United States. Because of the American expansionist ideas and expansionist intentions, they could have taken over Cuba. They took over everything. They went as far as Philippines. And Cuba is just right there. They kicked the Spanish out. They kicked the Spanish out from there. Why didn't they take them? Except the place was predominantly black nation, right? But that's a different story. Trump pulled out of Cuba simply because he doesn't want Obama to get the credit. America should have engaged Cuba. There is no need where, if you want to dominate the Western Hemisphere, which is a part of American expansionist ideas and goals, Cuba should be a part of it. No matter what happened, Cuba not being a part of America and allowing it to be communist is, to me, is a national security concern.
Okay.
Because expanding into Cuba, America can only gain. You have nothing to lose. That's another area that you could develop. That's another area that you could be able to sell, to bring in. If America waits too long, trust me, China
Mm.
is going to go into Cuba. If America waits too long, China is going to Cuba.
They already started.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to be, the Monroe Doctrine is there and all whatnot. China is a little bit skeptical,
No,
because of the,
no, no. China's not skeptical about Cuba. They already started having conversations. In fact, they went through Russia to get to Cuba.
yeah.
Like it's like 7 months ago, they went down to like last year, or the year before. The warboat went down to Cuba. A Russian warboat went there along with taking some Chinese there.
Man, America is sleeping, bro. Oh man, America is dropping the ball, man. To be quite honest with you, I don't know what America is dropping the ball, and
Uh,
if we see the kind of studies and researches I'm doing these days, America is dropping it. This generation, I don't even know. This generation don't get it, man. They're losing everything most of the things that America has accumulated, and it's due to, you know, not being educated, due to pomposity and being aloof and being complacent. America is losing it. China is not playing, bro.
I see that. I see China is
No, China is not playing.
it's
China is focused and
acquiring.
determined, very intentional.
Yeah, they're very intentional and they're acquiring. Like for instance, I know for at least three of the Caribbean islands that have on the brink of defaulting, they'll let them know if you default, we're going to put a base.
China is forcing those people to default. China is forcing most of them to default. It's a part of the grand plan.
Yeah, it's like
Do you
we're going to
understand?
take
It's
your
a part
island
of the
over.
grand plan. They want you to default, so they could come over and bring their police station and take over your port and all whatnot. It's part of the plan.
Yeah, yeah, Jamaica. They're ready to take over the port in Jamaica.
They're going over to Nicaragua right now, trying to develop the canal in Nicaragua that will cut off Suez Canal. You know that the Itama Canal, before the Panama Canal, America
Hmm.
was considering building the canal in Nicaragua.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the Nicaragua was the first one, but um, America decided against it. Okay,
Hmm.
and went for Panama Canal because of the British. They fought it with the British. The British was there after America defeated the Spanish in in the Spanish War, Spanish American War.
Hmm.
The British because of that defeat, America, that was one of the times that America emerged as a world power. So they made the British wanted to run it with America, but America said no, and they took over. But they decided not to build the canal there. They went to Panama. So now Russia and China is going over there trying to build that canal. And if they build that canal, that's going to bypass Panama. They don't need Panama anymore. They
True.
can use that in order to come to Central America, right? America is sleeping while all these things are going on. You see, the problem that I see is that America is paying so much attention, too much premium on military power. America is
Hmm.
putting so much premium in military power. America
Hmm.
has so much engulfed himself in conflict, lost so much money, lost so much focus, and during all those times, China is just creeping in, stealing informations, solidifying themselves economically. And I think China is about 20 years ahead right now for America to catch up economically and in trade. Because, bro, tell me what is it that America can build right now that China cannot build, that China
They,
cannot build or even build cheaper?
okay. What can America build that China cannot build or even do
Cheaper.
cheaper?
Yes. Except military hardware, goods.
So goods, let's go with I can't even say heavy machinery because the heavy machinery is cheaper than the American built, but they break fast. Um, when you look at what else? What else can they build that is? But that's the thing. They build stuff to break. When so, for instance, machinery. You use any kind of the Japanese machinery. No, the Chinese machinery. They're going to break fast versus an American built or even a German built.
Well,
Um,
well, the thing is that
but it's cheaper.
that's what I'm trying to tell you. China can mass produce, okay? China can mass produce and they have the skills, okay? They have the skilled labor. Labor is not
Hmm.
cheap anywhere, but China has the skilled labor and the plethora, the preponderance of labor that they have makes mass productions and by volume make things cheaper. Okay, if you build any factory now in America, let's say for example, that's why this thing that Trump is selling about bringing factories back is just a hogwash. Okay,
Yeah, it didn't go well.
it's not every factory is gonna come back, bro. Some of the skilled labor and tools and calibration that China has right now. Okay, if you bring any factory back, let's say you bring a factory back, you're gonna build it, let's say in Oklahoma or New Jersey or whatever, and for you to be able to produce, mass produce, to compete with China, it has to be a very huge factory. You're gonna have employees of technicians of maybe like about 10,000 people,
Hmm.
20,000 people that will be in the factory pumping all these things. Bro, if you blow a bullhorn and say the whole America come for an interview, you're only going to get like a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 or two people that are
But
qualified to do these things. You're
but
not going to get enough people.
you have a point because they just built a Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia here, electric cars plant, and they claimed what they're gonna hire 8,500 people or 8,300 people, and I think they're at about eight seven thousand people now, because the plant is up and running, but they're not at full capacity currently.
But you don't have the people. You don't have the skilled people, bro. I'm in school. I know what
But
people are. I know what people are studying.
but
The STEM
manufacturing is more of assembly line.
is more of assembly line, but it has a lot to do with the STEM. It falls into the STEM, bro. Some of these,
Understood.
yeah, some of these high tech manufacturing jobs fall under the STEM. Our people are not doing that. The people that are doing that are mostly foreigners.
Hmm.
You understand? And they're not coming in. That's why when you look at it, you said, okay, this guy is trying to build factories, but who are going to work in these factories? The people that are supposed to be coming, you are not letting them in. So even if in agriculture, the people that are supposed to help these industries help you produce things cheaper, or you can probably take and train, you're kicking them out. So I don't see any game plan here. You are not working towards industrialization. You are, if you are going after China, you are going after a country that has the population, that has the workforce.
Hmm.
Okay, so rather than you coming up with a comprehensive immigration plan that could at least help you regulate the people, get in the good ones, throw the bad ones out, no problem with that. You're throwing up everybody with the baby with the bad water and everybody out. I mean, you understand? There is no coherent plan here.
True. Yeah. I mean, and that's the same thing, same brush he's painting across the whole board with everything. There's no plan in place for immigration. There's no plan in place for bringing the jobs back. Because when I tell people that even Biden brought back more jobs than Trump, and it's a known fact, they say no, 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 no. Trump brought no. It's a known fact. Biden brought back more jobs than Trump. I'm talking about manufacturing jobs because this plant here in Georgia was built on the Biden, right? And you have several other plants, like Rivian's supposed to build a plant, and that's on the Biden too, with the new what we call that, the Green Deal, the new Green Deal.
Hmm.
Yes, there's a lot of plants that were supposed to build EV plants across the country,
Bro,
and they have a battery at what do you call that? Whether it's a Japanese or Chinese company have a battery plant in North Georgia. That is so it is. They're bringing, and Biden was bringing these in. See, when people say, "Oh, he didn't do nothing," I've seen it. I've seen them. You see these big, huge plants coming in. Now they're going after AI, building these big, mega storage plants that you need a farmland to create power. So it's like, okay, who's going to be working in these plants?
man,
Nobody.
let me give you one this thing and I go. Look at this. Americans, even when it comes to food, this is one that I can't wrap my head around in. Okay, you're kicking out immigrants, everybody else that working. American food self sufficiency ratio is at 86%. Prior to COVID, China food sufficiency ratio was about 94%. COVID brought it down to the last time that they checked it at 68%. So it's like about close to 20% differential from America. But look at what China is doing. China is in bilateral agreement with dozens of countries in Africa, in in America, Central America, South America, Brazil, you name it. They are buying lands in America also.
Correct.
So so their food and they are manufacturing all these crops and they're shipping it to China. And it's not counting to their food sufficiency ratio because the one that is being recorded is the one that is coming out of China. It's not recording the one that is going into China with the ones that China's are manufacturing overseas and bringing it to China to feed their population. So China is much more positioned than America. Let me tell you something. If America is very vulnerable, I read the this threat assessment, and one of the ways that you can attack America, God forbid, is through agriculture. If there is
Correct.
any kind of an agricultural attack, sabotage, or espionage, whatever that is easy to do, America is going to run into a very big problem because that 86% where you are going to depend on foods coming from overseas in order to supplement. And guess who is financing these foods, like in the ones uh, in Mexico and stuff? These are Chinese companies. These are Chinese
Correct.
funded
You're right.
projects.
Correct. You're right. So
You
All right,
understand?
guys. Here's the deal, real quick.
Yes,
let me,
sir.
One second. Guys, we're going to go ahead and at this moment and in the podcast, guys, we're going to continue this conversation. If you guys are listening at home, download the Chatter Social app and come join us live. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Have a good night.
Are we on this thing? I didn't even realize that we're on. I didn't realize that we're on.